Hey all, Matthew and Sina here, and today we have a very special guest. We have Certified Adobe Instructor Daniel Scott, and he's going to be teaching us the top 5 Adobe Illustrator tools that we need to know today. I gotta say, this guy is a wizard. When I watched this tutorial, I didn't even know these tools myself. And that shows that 1, either I'm a complete novice at Adobe Illustrator, or 2, I just haven't been keeping up with the times. In any case, I was pretty excited to watch and learn these things. If you're interested in following along this tutorial, we've provided materials in the link in the description below. Let's get into it.
Hi there, here I am. Thanks for having me. Now, who is this video for? It's for you, designer, who have the latest version of Illustrator installed and you still haven't gone through all the new updates from the last 2 or 3 versions and worked out how they can really enhance your workflow. That's what I'm here to do today, so let's get started. All right, it is feature number 1. It's called the Shape Builder tool. Now, throughout the video, I'm going to use exercise files. Okay, you can download those if you want to play along exactly. There'll be a link in the description. Otherwise, you can just use your own files, whatever you like. Totally fine with me. Let's get in there. Okay, the Shape Builder tool is going to let us use that, plus one other tool, the Ellipse tool, and turn our hand-drawn fox into, sexy curves and shapes. Let's get started. First up, create a blank page. Doesn't really matter the size, but if you're copying me, I've got a US letter in landscape. Next step is to bring in our hand drawing that we'll redraw with the Shape Builder tool. So go to File, go to Place, and in your exercise files, there'll be a file in there called fox.jpg. Now this is just a hand-drawn file that I've made. I find my process often with things like this. I'll draw them in my workbook first and then redraw them afterwards in Illustrator. And a cool little trick is when you're bringing in, say, a scanned or photographed image that you've drawn, if you click this little template option as it comes in, watch this, when I click place, it's pretty cool. If I click off in the background, it is locked. It is on its own layer called Template Fox. It has been kind of dimmed out a little bit and being locked. And it's created this other layer that I can draw on top. So you don't have to do that, but that little template checkbox that you've ignored forever will be handy for a few of you who follow this kind of process. All right, but you didn't come for that, you came for the Shape Builder tool. So I'm gonna grab the Ellipse tool. So it's hiding underneath the rectangle tool. So just hold it down, hold, grab the Ellipse tool. And over here in your properties panel, let's have the fill. So click the white square and use the little none option, which is a little line through it. And for the stroke, I'm gonna click the black box and I'm gonna pick like a real bright magenta. We'll remove it later on. But I want it here so you can see. I'm gonna move mine up to maybe 2 points. A little bit big, but hopefully it'll make it easier to see on the video. So now we need some circles. I'll draw this body piece first. So I want to draw a circle and I want it to be a perfect height and a width. So while I'm dragging it down, remember, I hold down the shift key, that gets a perfect circle. Back to my black arrow. I'm just gonna manipulate this so it kind of fits this bottom curve here. So I'm gonna hold shift and drag it up and get a bit bigger. I'm gonna fast forward this a little bit just so that we get our first circles. I'll copy and paste it one more time and I'll do this kind of fella in here. He needs to be a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna shrink it down like this. All right, so we've got the basics in there now. This is where the Shape Builder comes in. Now, if you're thinking, what is the Shape Builder for? It's a replacement for the Pathfinder. So window Pathfinder, if this is your best friend, or at least the devil you know, and you're like a lot of people and you drag these and you start clicking this and then go, nope, edit, undo, click on the next one, edit, undo, until you eventually find what you need. The Shape Builder is a replacement for this. You're laughing because that's how you do it, right? That's how I do it anyway. So black arrow, select everything, go to the Shape Builder tool. It's this fella here, hard to describe. Arrow with circles and dots. Okay, click on that one there. Now by default, this thing wants to join up shapes. So watch this, I can join by clicking, holding and dragging across these two, which is by itself pretty cool. But I don't want to join things, okay? I can join them all up. It's not really what I want to do. I'm gonna undo until they're all bits and pieces again. To get it to do the opposite, instead of joining, hold down the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a PC. You'll see that it goes from plus to a minus, and now this is the magic. I'm gonna drag across U. How cool is that? Drag across this, drag across. You can just click once. I need that bit though. And I'm gonna undo it. But you can see how nice and easy and quick it is to start editing shapes. And that's the Shape Builder tool. So we're gonna build out this fox and then we'll look at coloring him using the Shape Builder tool as well. It's another cool little trick. We'll do the next bit together and then I'll speed it up a little bit. So however you want to draw a line, I'm just going to use the line segment tool and draw this line that goes all the way from one side all the way through to the other side. Grab the black arrow, select everything. You need to grab all the different pieces, go back to my shape builder tool. Okay, and remember, what was the key to hold down to make sure things disappeared? That's right, it is Alt key on a PC and Option key on a Mac. And I'm gonna say U, and I'm gonna draw a line through that and line through that. Cool, huh? So if you're still using maybe the scissors tool or the knife tool, trying to join anchor points to get kind of complete parts, this is super handy because they are actually, instead of just a pile of lines, can you see they're actually joined whole shapes. Super helpful. All right, I'm gonna speed up the next bit. I'll jump back in when we start adding things. All right, you're back, and I didn't really save much time, but I guess I wanted to show you how to, I'm gonna select them all, and I've kind of drawn maybe too many lines at once too. I'm gonna try and impress you with how I can make them all join. You ready? You guys all join. So I'm not holding anything down now, I'm just joining them all up magically. That guy needs to join with that guy, this guy's gone. These guys, I'm dragging across them. You can click them once, but I find just like dragging across them works just as well. This guy needs to join up. These guys need to join up. Let's grab my last little ellipse here. That'll do. And I want to make sure you select them all. And after a while, you'll start learning the shortcut, which is Shift M. Okay. And that'll jump to this tool. If you use a lot like me. Now you can see it's done a pretty great job. It's not perfect. There's a little artifact left over here. If you do find random things left over, I'm going to use my direct selection tool. I'm going to click it once. Actually, I'm going to zoom in because I can't click it once. It's quite small. There it is there. I'm going to delete it a couple of times until that piece is gone. Let's go to the layers panel. Let's turn off that template we created. Back to the properties panel. Let's color it quickly. I want to show you one of the tricks for the shape builder tool and coloring. I'm going to go to window. I'm going to go to color themes. I'm going to explore. And I'm going to find a foxy color. I'm going to type in fox even. One of the cool things about the shape builder tool, especially if you're an illustrator, is I'm going to select it all with a black arrow, go to my shape builder tool. And what you can do is you can decide like, okay, I like this color. So I'm going to click it. You see it becomes filled over here. I'm going to say, going to be that color. And I'm going to pick this for the next color. You can just work your way around the document coloring. Now, say you wanted to reuse a couple of colors. So I can click and click whatever your cursor is loaded with, or at least the fill's loaded with, you can just keep clicking away in different parts. Anyway, I find it a nice helpful tip, but I can't hack that tan. So there we go. Get rid of the stroke, which doesn't work unless you're on the black arrow. Stroke, goodbye. And then, hey presto, he's got a big dark circle behind him, because I think it looks cooler, maybe. Anyway, you see the power of the shape builder tool. Let's get on to the next feature. All right, the next tool that you can't live without is going to be the curvature tool. Now, it's like the pen tool, except it's super easy in comparison. Even if you are a really kind of advanced pen tool user, check out the curvature tool. I'm pretty good with the pen tool, and slowly but surely, I'm starting to use the curvature tool more and more. Let's see why. All right, with the curvature tool exercise, we're gonna start with this hand-drawn whaley thing and then redraw it using the curvature tool. Let's get going. All right, to get started, open up the file curvature tool from your exercise files. We've done the same handy trick where we've put it in the background and locked it using that template method. Now we want to redraw this. You could use the pen tool, but I want to introduce you to the curvature tool. It's the fourth tool down here. If you don't have the curvature tool, probably means you've got an older version of Illustrator. I'm using 2019. All right, and the way this works is, I'm going to zoom in a little, is that it really wants to make curves. You can make it do corners. I'll show you what I mean. So if I click once, little dot appears, nothing really happens. Then kind of halfway around the circle here, I'm going to click once more again. Nothing really happens. And then I'm not doing anything. I just clicked once with my mouse, but you can see when I kind of move my mouse away from it, it's got this lovely curved line joining up. I'm going to do one more curve over here. Click once, remember, really wants to be a curve. And like pretty much every drawing I start, I forget to turn the fill to none so I can see what I'm doing. And again, there's another curve. So I'm going to kind of click once there and I'm going to click once there. It's kind of done a little bit of weirdness in there. You can fix that up afterwards. And I've got to this point. Okay, I want this to be a corner, not a curve. So clicking once gives you a curve, double click gives you a corner. So click once for a curve, double click for a corner. Click, I'm not gonna draw this bit, I'm gonna show you in the next tutorial with the width tool. So I'm gonna carry on here to about there, click once because I want it to be a curve, maybe click again once there. You can see how lovely these curves are. Naturally, it really wants to be a beautiful curve rather than the pen tool. You've got to really kind of, I guess, either be a master of it or fight with it. So again, I'm gonna click once, just clicking once my mouse, you can see, ooh, nice curves. Okay, corner, what was it? Double click, you got it. Cool, huh? Let's finish this one off. I'm gonna go back, I want this to be a curve, click once, go into here. Let's actually draw this bit. So here, I want it to double click for a corner, click once for a curve, double click. You can see how quick and easy this is. Just clicking once. This is a weird bit. You're like, what do I do here? Okay, I'm like, I don't want it to be a curve, or I do. Say you have clicked it and you're like, oh, I thought it had to be a curve, but now it needs to be a corner. How do I go back and change it? You can just actually double click it and it turns it into a corner. Click once, nope, twice for a corner, once for a curve, twice for a corner, and go back here. And you can see I haven't actually clicked anything. It's previewing it, showing me it's the wrong thing. So what do I do to override it? Double click it. If you want it to be a curve again, double click it again. Cool, hey, just kind of like toggles them back and forth. Now if you're like, hey, you're ignoring this thing down here and there's a bit of weirdness going over there, don't worry, we got the basics in. You can still use your direct selection tool, click on the anchor points, and it's just like a regular path and shape. Okay, you can go through and start modifying it, dragging out the handles, you can add more handles, go fix it with the pen tool if you prefer. This little bit's gonna drive me mad, I know it is. It's actually not too bad. All right, so that's the Curvature tool. It's definitely better when you're new. Pen tool can be quite tricky, but as you saw there, it does block in some really easy flowing shapes. Let's use it in combination with one of the other tools, the Shape Builder tool. So Curvature tool, instead of clicking on the edge here, I'm actually gonna do it all the way through. So I'm gonna click once, click again, and I'm gonna click once there because I want it to be a curve. I'm gonna click once out here. So how many clicks? 1, 2, 3, 4, and I didn't just click once for them all because I want them to be all a nice flowing curve. If it's stuck to this, you're like, get off. Hit escape key on your keyboard, that kind of disconnects it. Now what I want to do is kind of slice this into a piece and color it. We'll also draw the eye, so I'm just using the ellipse tool. I'm going to grab them all with my black selection tool, grab our handy dandy Shape Builder tool, and I'm going to hold down the Option key or the Alt key on a PC just to get rid of these little bits. And over here, I want to use my window color themes, and I'm just on Explore and I'm just looking at the most popular colors at the moment. And I'm gonna pick this one and use these two colors. Actually, and I wanna join these up and color it with this. Nice. Look at that, it's a combo move. The Curvature tool with the Shape Builder tool. All right, that's gonna be it for the Curvature tool. On to the next feature. All right, the next feature is the Width tool. It's a way we can draw two parallel lines that curve around and actually flow together without spending 2.5 days with the anchor points and handles, and you don't really know what I mean yet, do you? Let's jump in and I'll show you. All right, this is what I mean by the Width tool, where there's a kind of a curve that runs along the top and it runs parallel on the bottom. That's super easy to do with the Width tool. We'll also do something a little bit more fancy like this, where there are these curves and they all connect and there's little dollops at the end. It's all done with the Width tool. Let's jump in now and figure out how. All right, so the Width tool is this fella here. Looks like a kind of a bow and arrow or something. Click on it. You can grab any line. Okay, I'm gonna grab this one we did here. Okay, click, hold, and drag it. Cool, huh? I'm gonna select off. You can see how it goes through and just kind of does a nice kind of flowing, both sides all running parallel. Well, a little bit of a bump down here because of my corner point. I'm gonna undo that. Let's look at this option here. We're gonna use our Curvature tool. Click once, click once, click once, click once. Okay, so I've got a nice curve. It's kind of the same as the one flowing through there. How do I get it to stop being connected? That's right, escape. I'm gonna get rid of the fill color, goodbye. Now, when I wanna do a curve like this, if I leave the stroke as is, I think the stroke's at 1 point, it doesn't look as good. Get it real low, like your hairline, so 0.25, escape key again. So get it nice and thin. Doesn't really matter if you draw it with the pen tool, the pencil tool, the curvature tool. Just make sure it's nice and thin stroke. And I'm gonna grab the Width tool and I'm gonna click, hold, and drag it in the middle. You can kind of see what I mean, right? If I zoom in a little bit, you can see, have you ever done it? I've drawn the pen tool on the top and then trying to do the pen tool on the bottom to match it, and it never seems to flow nicely. Kind of does it for us. We can do adjustments afterwards because I want the thickest part to be about here. So you can grab the center of this. I'm still using the width tool. And you can just drag it along and say I want it to be about there. I can make it a bit wider. Okay, but let's say you don't want it as wide at the bottom as at the top. You can hold down the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a PC. Okay, and just drag one of these little white squares here to kind of start adjusting it. It's just one side, not the other. You can have more than one point. I'm going to click and drag here with the width tool. So you got to click, hold, and drag on that center line, and you can add a different point. So you can have different shaped lines. You get the idea, right? I'm going to undo that. My drawing was only kind of a suggestion, so I'm happy with the way it is. I'm going to zoom out. Before I show you a little bit more of a hardcore use of this tool, often what people want to do is they want to go to Object and they want to go to Expand Appearance, and it'll turn it from being like a lovely kind of stroke to a fill. Then we could do cool things like I could join it to this, select both of them, grab the Shape Builder tool. I could say you are now all one shape. So that technique won't work if it's still a stroke. So I'm going to undo that because it's not what I wanted. It's something you want to do at some point. All right, let's jump to this other document. All right, if you want to follow along, open up Living Spree from the exercise files. This is a drawing I did a long time ago. It was kind of based on Cy Scott's. He's got that amazing kind of style with those animals. I was trying to do some type stuff with it. But while it's here, it's got some really good examples of the width tool. And I want to show you how to do these, we'll call them tadpoles at the end here. You can do those with the width tool. So I've left this eye for us to do. So I'll show you how I did it. So I'm going to grab the ellipse tool. Okay, and I'm going to draw an ellipse. If you want to know how to draw it from the center, you hold down the Shift key and the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a PC. That's kind of close to where I wanted it, right? Now I want to slice it off. I'll just show you, I've taken to doing this. So I'm grabbing the line segment tool and going, instead of using like the scissors tool, which would be perfectly fine. Okay, I select them all and use the Shape Builder tool that we learned earlier and just start to delete these guys. Remember holding down the Alt key, the Option key on a Mac, or dragging through them, just a nice way of snipping up lines. Anyway, that's not the trick. The trick is doing the little tadpoles. So grab the width tool. Now what I'm going to do, remember with the width tool selected, I'm going to click, hold, and drag out this nice big end piece. Okay, maybe not so big. And then just a bit further along, I'm going to click, hold, and drag out a smaller piece. That can be a little tricky, so give it a couple of goes. Remember, you're clicking and dragging on both the end piece and a bit further in. We're going to just tuck it in so it's a little bit smaller. Now, by default, it's probably going to have this nice flat end. It's called, unfortunately named, a butt cap. To change it, go to Properties, go to Stroke, and change it from that one to Rounded Cap. Okay, and that should give you the nice little bobble at the end, tadpole. And that's kind of what I did with the rest of these. Okay, some of them I just drew with the Curvature tool and just put a bobble on the end. Some I wanted to be like a perfect circle. Anyway, I wanted to show you just a little bit more of the width tool before we get on to our next feature. All right, I'm Live Dan, and I feel like it's better introducing these new features live so we get to meet each other, see each other. And the next feature that we're going to discuss together is going to be the freeform gradient. It's a cool feature. Let's jump inside the computer again and check it out. All right, so in this video, we're gonna look at doing gradients where you can actually just move points around. Rather than a complex gradient mesh or trying to fake it with lots of radial gradients, the freeform gradient, super easy to use, really complex gradients. Did I mention it was easy to use? Right, let's get going. All right, from your exercise files, open up the freeform gradient file, but you can use any vector shape. This is a logo that I did a little while ago. And I spent ages playing with gradient meshes and linear gradients to try and get the result I wanted. So a freeform gradient is easy to apply. So my black arrow, I'm gonna click on, so I got two separate shapes, right? So I'm gonna click on this first option here. Over here it says fill. I'm gonna pick just the standard black to white linear gradient and then kind of just click out. And what you'll notice is with it selected, you've got linear, you've got radial, and you've got this new one. That's the magic one, freeform gradient. Click on that and weirdness happens. It does a really good job, well, really good job. It has a guess. It tries to reach out and look around the document for the colors. You pick white and black from the document and the green. It's not what I want, but it's put in some nice dots. You might find that I'm gonna delete these. You can just click and delete them. You might just have one sometimes. It's a bit weird that way. So I'm gonna undo, put them all back in. Let's say that you've got three or one. All you need to do to change the color of it, say you've got this white one. And you're like, I don't want white. Just double click the center, okay? And you'll open up either your mixer, okay, or your swatches. I'm gonna use the swatches panel for the moment. I've got a couple of colors pre-mix. I'm gonna use this darker green at the top. Kind of in the center here, I wanna add another color, just the light green. All you do is click once and you get a swatch. Double click it to change the color. Remember, decide whether you're using the mixer or swatches. Use the lighter green here. You can see how complex this is. It's not just a linear gradient now, there's all sorts of things happening. Let me show you a couple other things. So double click this one. I'm gonna make it the dark green. What else can you do? I'm gonna click back on it to kind of close it up. This is the extent. See this kind of like circle here? You can drag it out to make it bigger. You can see it's just, I'm gonna zoom in. So we can make it, extend further. These guys are just fighting with each other, okay? Who's got the stronger gradient? I'm gonna make this nice and small because I want it down in there. And this is where it gets really nice because you're like, oh, I just want it to, because a radial gradient might get you this far, but now actually I want to inject a bit more of the lighter color here. Okay, and these guys are going to fight each other a little bit. Close quarters. I'm not sure why they're fighting, but you get the idea. All right, this guy down here, actually I want it to be the light one. I'm just messing around now. I'm going to show you a couple of other tricks. So moving them, just grab the center, extent. You can delete them by, say you add one and you don't want it there. Just have it selected and hit delete on your keyboard, gone. Two other features. One is you can do a gradient line. So we're just doing, it's called points. Can you see over here? It says draw points. It means just like these random points that you can move around, delete them if you need to, but you can actually draw a line, which is pretty cool. So I'm gonna grab my black arrow and click on this chunk. What I'd like to do is add the gradient again. So over here where it says fill, I'm gonna use black and white, close it down. I'm gonna click on this one here, freeform gradient. Added some random dots. What I'm gonna do is, I'll leave that one there. This one here, I'm just gonna kind of move over the side and I'm gonna switch from points to lines. It's better if you move any existing points away, otherwise they start joining. So what it does is I'm gonna click once and I'm gonna double click it just to start off with the right color. Okay, and then kind of close it back down. You either hit escape on your keyboard or just click on the dot again. And what you'll notice is, can you see this? It's kind of connected to it. Now it operates the same way as the curvature tool that we learned earlier on. If you're like, I'm never gonna use that tool, it doesn't matter. Illustrator has forced it into a few different tools like this one. So what happens is, it looks like a straight line, but remember when I click once and then move off, can you see it starts wanting to do a curve? I can do a straight line by kind of just having one there and one there, so do some ones that are kind of close to each other, ends up straightening it out. You can see I get a nice kind of cool curve that follows along here. I'll kind of accentuate it by going back to points and moving some of these guys around. You can start to see it's got this kind of like green force field, okay, that follows that line there. So that's kind of what I want to do. I want down here, I want double click you. I don't want it to be black, I want it to be the dark green. Down here, you can be the dark green again. Same with here, I'll add another one, extend it up. You get the idea of this kind of really complex gradient. We can do it all with points, that's fine, but the line tool is going to be amazing for those people who do more illustration in Illustrator. I tend to do logos with gradients in them. So that line option is going to be amazing for those people doing full illustration in Illustrator. All right, one last thing I promised was you can do opacity, which is really cool. All right, an example, if I grab the black arrow, click on this one. If you want to get back into editing it, you've got to click on this option that says edit gradient. Okay, and let's say this one here, instead of it disappearing kind of dark, I want to actually have the opacity down on this one. Okay, so it looks like it's gone white, but really what's happened is, let me select it all, zoom out, and just drag it over here. And you'll see when it crosses halfway across this, can you see there? It's not actually white, I guess, it's showing through the background. So that can be really handy as well. All right, give it up for the freeform gradient tool. All right, let's jump into the next and last feature.
All right, it's time for the last feature. This one is called Global Edit. Now, don't be confused. It's at the end, not because it's the fifth of my favorite features. It's because it's the least sexy of them all. Okay, I keep the really cool looking ones at the front, but this one's probably going to be the feature that is gonna change your workflow life the most. So let's jump in and look at the Global Edit in Illustrator.
All right, from the exercise files, open up this one here called Global Edit.
Now this document is just an example of like a mock-up website I did in Illustrator. There's nothing special about it. This will work for you as long as you're using one of the later versions of Illustrator, 2019 or above. All right, and what it does is it's for things like this, like you've done a big project where, like, let's say this arrow and this button here appears multiple times. I've only got 3 artboards here, but you can imagine doing, this is just a really simple website design. You're likely to have a whole lot more pages for a website and lots of different sizes. It could be tens or hundreds of pages, probably not hundreds, but you get the idea. This thing appears on lots of documents. Really handy as well for, I do a lot of design like this for, say, Google banner ads. Okay, you need to make a change. And with this selected here, I want to change the arrow. Don't like it. It's too pointy, whatever it is. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I want to change it on all artboards. What you can do is click on this magic button. Just click Start Global Edit, and something magical happens. I'm going to zoom out a lot. You can kind of see here, I'll zoom in on the video, but you can see there's these 3 have been selected across all the artboards. I've done nothing to them. There's nothing like special about them. They're not symbols. It just magically reached out and grabbed everything that happened to be the same shape and color. I can go through now, grab my white arrow and say, actually, I'm going to zoom in and start messing with the corners here and kind of make it less pointy. And magically, let's go have a look at this fella. Zoom in on him. He's less pointy. So's the other guy. Cool, huh? So all you do is click on something. You're like, this orange box, this Mandarin box here, I need it to be, I need to change it to kind of the pill shape. Just click Start Global Edit, and you can see it grabs all of them. Didn't grab this one because it's not the right kind of shape, it's the right color. Okay, and I'm gonna drag these corners. Those little dots for the rounded corners are super handy. If you were like, where are those? Make sure you got the latest version of Illustrator, but go to View, and it's this one here. It's called Corner Widget. Turn those on. So yeah, super helpful, huh? Let me show you one more. Here's my little kiwi down the bottom here. Start Global Edit, and you can see it picked him and him. Now we're physically changing things. It's really good for color as well. And this highlights an old feature that not everyone knows. Let's say that I want to change this kind of Mandarin color to something else, right? I want to go, this has been in here forever. It's under Select. You can go to Same and go to Fill Color. This is just real handy. This is good for doing it's gonna pick every single vector object that has that fill color, and I can go through and change it. Okay, this might be good when you're trying to do some colorways for a brand, you're trying to figure out different styles. Okay, terrible colors, Dan. But you get the idea, right? And that's been in there for a while. Where Global Edit is quite helpful is, I'm gonna undo, is let's say I select on this, and I don't wanna color, I don't want to color everything. I just want to color the circles. There's only 2 of them. Well, there's a couple. Let's go to Global Edit. Okay, and it's reached out and grabbed those 2 guys there. Okay, and it means I don't have to go through. One of the things though is, you see I clicked on green, it's like, it hasn't updated. Look, it's not even noticed. He's got to kind of click out of this and it eventually updates. Amazing, huh? One of the other little tricks is, if I undo that, what's on by default is, well, I've got this one selected, so I'm gonna click on him, okay? And down here it says Global Edit. You can hit this little arrow here, and you can add some options. So let's say that I don't want to match the size. I think it's off by default, so yours might be off by default. Have a check. I wanna start Global Edit, but I don't want it to match sizes, okay? I'm gonna click on it. You can see it grabbed all the circles down here. It's probably doing it for you by default, but it's just really handy sometimes later on. You're like, actually don't grab those, just grab drop this down, match the size, start Global Edit, and just these 2 guys will match. Cool, huh? A couple of little things just so you're a pro at it is that down the bottom here, you can pick different artboards and include objects on canvas. That just means anything in this gray area you can include. Lots of people end up working in this gray area, and you want to adjust those as well. Make sure that's ticked. The other thing to note as well is that it's not working for text at the moment. If I've got editable text, I can't do Global Edit. I really like to. I'd love to go through and just, pull on these different fonts and adjust them, and it doesn't work for images as well. So it's for actual physical vector graphic pieces rather than fonts and images at the moment. All right, that is Global Edit. I'll pass it back to Real Dan to finish this up.
All right, hi, bye. Thanks for having me. I hope you enjoyed the videos. I try to make them, they're a little bit longer, I know, but I try and make sure that the tools are described in their kind of entirety so that you can go and start working with them straight away in your professional work and know the ins and outs. I'll hand it back over to the Future to do the outro. I'll see you around.
If you like this video from Daniel Scott and you want to see more of him, let us know in the comments section below and let us know what software package you want us to focus on next. If you want to master your technical skills, consider taking one of Daniel's courses. He's a certified Adobe instructor and he teaches you a range of tools and techniques from Photoshop to Illustrator to XD and much, much more. Check out the link in the description below. If you got some value out of this video, let us know by giving us a comment, like, and subscribe. It really helps us out. With that out of the way, it's time to get back to work.